Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, of the Variety Hour. We're right in the middle of the Com Games, and boy, are we excited. And to share with the excitement of the Empire Games, as I like to refer to them, we've got Danny McGinlay. How are you, Danny?
Yeah, I'm exhausted from just staying up so late watching all the. Actually, they finish about 10, don't they? All right, I've not been watching.
And, of course, the greatest broadcaster of sport in the entire world.
Universe.
Take that, known
Jupiter.
universe. Francis Leach. Hey, Francis, you've been...
Titus and Danny,
You'd
good to
be into
back.
it. You'd be watching it.
I'm sitting there with my Empire mug and spoon, in my Union Jack Butcher's apron, just loving the scent of Empire.
No one
returning.
loves the Queen more than you. I often say that.
Nobody loves a Queen more than me.
It's
I'm a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. Nobody loves a Queen more than me.
It really is. It's such a strange concept when you stop and think about it. And it's all these countries that were invaded, and now they offer up tribute. It's like Hunger Games. They offer up
It is
tributes
like that,
for
yeah.
the entertainment of the capital. I was just looking through the medal tally before. There's all these countries that you don't expect to be in there. You go, wow, well done, Britain. You really got around the globe. Like
Oh, they did.
Cyprus, Singapore, St Kitts and Nevis, Cayman Islands, still yet to win a medal.
Still yet
Oh,
to
are
pay
they?
you still yet to pay its taxes either. When they come.
That's why. The Cayman Islands are just here for business, not pleasure.
It's weird. If you win a medal for Cayman Islands, you get a receipt.
Do you think everyone just gives them their gold medal at the end anyway? That's where they just look after
store
this.
it there.
Yeah, if you see a Cayman Island athlete, can you just look after this?
It's a funny event though, isn't it? Because
It's a bizarre one.
we're not prepared quite to let go of it yet, even though most of us think it's just a level above a school sports meet. But
Yeah.
because there's green and gold involved and the gold medals, which are probably full of chocolate if you peel them back, I reckon that might
Sounds
be the case. Whenever we see green and gold medals involved, it doesn't matter who we're beating up on, we'll take it. We'll
the
bask-
ratings are rating like at least 1.2 million every night.
Is that
so-
still the case?
Yeah,
Even after... Because I've just found reading the media about this all the time, how each day I'm waking up and these splashes like, we're amazed that we won gold in the swimming. And I'm like, hang on. I mean, who are we, like you say, who are we beating?
yeah,
Like,
the media are like magician's assistants. Just go,
yeah.
where did he go?
Yeah, it's like a really bad trick and they're like selling it. Because I'm just like, well, if they hadn't done what they'd done in the pool, it would be a massive failure. They haven't...
Do you think, though, that part of the reason why maybe we've embraced it again is that coming off the back of all the cricket nonsense and the disgrace that was brought upon the national soul, courtesy of our cricketers, that we just needed a good story. We needed to love ourselves again. And if it's at the expense of the athletes of Jersey,
Yeah, sorry, Bob.
then so be it.
Yeah, we don't even need to cheat
Those
against
Channel
these
Island,
guys.
those Channel Island guys had it coming to them.
Do you want to, this is how you improve the Commonwealth Games. I've just had a great idea. You don't send athletes. Well, you do send. It's like jury duty. Everyone in these countries, they pick random people to compete, and then and you just get you get a letter saying, "Hey, you're in the Commonwealth Games."
like where you're
You get
going.
drafted.
And you get drafted, and you also don't get to choose your sport. So, like, suddenly, like Titus, you've been randomly selected from the electoral roll. Congratulations,
For
you're
gymnastics.
doing gymnastics. Francis, triple jump.
Now, that's a great idea.
That
You'd
is
watch that,
good.
wouldn't you? And that happens in every country. So,
I would love to see Titus doing gymnastics.
oh hell yeah!
Well, yeah, just come round one night when I've had a few. You see it every time.
Because by law of averages, you would get, say, some, I don't know, Bahamian weightlifter, and he's been chosen for weightlifting, so he dominates.
Just
And-
on a rare...
Yeah.
Well, it'll be easier in the countries with... Like, some of the countries, I think, only have, like, 5 people.
Yeah.
It's not... We should look at...
Falkland Islands send a sheep.
Oh, huge.
Shearing competition.
That should be a sport. Why not?
You know, this is where I measure the quality of a sporting event like this. If Australia are dominating the athletics track,
Yeah.
it's not good. It's not like, and we're winning everything.
So Kenya's part of the empire, the Commonwealth.
Yeah, but they win the marathon. But we're winning like all sorts of sports that we wouldn't even get into the
would we?
Olympic final.
We're used to
know,
only winning the participation ribbon, and now we're winning medals. It's a
we're
little
winning
bit
medals
odd.
and gold. So we had just give you an idea of the medal tally. Australia are top. They've won 145 medals.
Yeah.
That's greedy.
57 of them gold. This is where it gets silly. England are next. They've won 76 overall. So we're pretty much doubled the next.
But people thought England would do better than us this year, didn't they? Wasn't that comment? And by people, I mean Waleed Ali said it to me. And I just assume he's done more research than me and everything.
Here's who I go to on my Commonwealth Games tips.
Why not? When you got access to a smart bloke, I just go, hey, Waleed, what do I think about this?
Did he say it to you, or were you watching television?
I didn't even own a television. I just assumed he was broadcasting in, because I forgot to wear my tinfoil hat and, you know, the Muslim mind control that he's in charge of.
Oh, right. He's the one behind it. Now, this is how quickly it drops off. So remember, Australia on 145 medals overall, England 76, India, who are third, 24.
Ooh.
Then it goes 26 for South Africa because they're below because they've got less golds, and then New Zealand have 27.
I think we can call it. Canada is in crisis.
Canada's just not even in the top 5.
Well, ever since Trudeau's become Prime Minister, they're all just into basket weaving and meditation and levitation now. They don't care about sport
You think
anymore.
it's been that instantaneous?
Absolutely.
Or they're just they've upped their Canadianness and they're just being really polite and letting other people win.
You're right. There's not enough snow and ice for them in this. Why isn't there a winter Commonwealth Games?
There you go. Remember, they could find a niche in the market and do an autumnal one, like it. You know,
Autumnal games. You ski through sludge.
We're going to do it by seasons. Why does autumn get left out?
I do like the idea of a winter Commonwealth Games because almost none of the countries.
I think that's
there's so many in Africa and
then it is like
there's no one who actually. It would actually be quite equal.
It is like jury duty then.
Well, Canada would kill it.
Well, England have a beach volleyball team we learnt last night, and they lost to Australia, and everyone's like, oh, what a great showing by Australia. Come on, we've got beaches. They have rocks
I was
in
about
Brighton.
to say, do they train on rocks?
I think it was Rwanda had a beach volleyball team.
And that's like jungle, isn't it? That's inland.
It's landlocked Central Africa.
But they might as well just be doing what Danny says and randomly picking people there. I mean, that's probably what they actually do to get the beach volleyball team up.
Possibly.
I guess what we've got to look forward to is a closing ceremony for people to complain about, which is great. So all those people who need a dose of complain will get it again this week.
Yeah, and they can.
Fantastic.
They can take a break from listening to our podcast.
Now, I forgot to mention up the front at the top of the show, if you want to come along to get out of watching the Com Games, how's that for a segue? Danny, your show is kicked off at the Comedy Festival.
Yeah, Premiership Hangover, European Beer Cafe, 9:30, every night except Sunday when it's 8:30. Be great to have you all along.
9:30 except
9:30.
Sunday where it's 8:30.
Yeah, and you're you can because you can do the double.
That's right. I'm on at 8:30 at the Imperial. I've got 10 shows to go, including tonight sold out.
Right, mate, we've all got things going on.
I'm just letting people know. So there's only a few tickets left actually for the last 10. So if you want to come along,
And you can do the double because your show goes for what, 45?
50 minutes roughly.
50 minutes.
So if you hightail it from mine to yours, you'll
It's 2
make
blocks.
it. And I'll text ahead and say,
Yeah.
Danny, hold off 5.
Yeah, and
just
I'll-
do your
I'll-
worst material first.
I saw Max Gorn at the Comedy Festival last night. Was he not there to see you?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Big Max. You would have seen him. You wouldn't have missed. I thought he must have been in Titus's room. Must have been.
No.
I think he was there with Chris Dawes. Two former
I didn't.
teams.
I
there
wasn't
you go.
on that. I wasn't on last night. I had Wednesday nights off. Where was he though?
He was. I was just in the town hall, and you
right,
can't
yeah.
miss Big Max when he's going past.
No,
Otherwise,
no.
I have to see Titus.
No, he'd be
He'll be
wanting
back
to
then to see Titus.
He'd be wanting
And
to
you,
see
Dave.
someone good. No, it's thanks for everyone who's come along, and I'm going to come down yours. I think tomorrow night after the show.
All right, sweet.
So
What's tomorrow?
Friday.
What day is it today?
Today's Thursday.
I hate festival time. I don't
He's
genuinely
One
don't know
show
what day it
in,
is.
and he's lost
Yeah,
the
he's
thread.
already lost it. Now, not that sport doesn't give us enough always, but Conor McKenna.
Ugh.
Conor McGregor's been busy, but now Conor McKenna has kicked in. Now, he's plays for Essendon, if for people who aren't aware, and he was suspended for 3 weeks after pleading guilty to biting Western Bulldogs forward Tory Dixon.
After Tory ran him down in a brilliant feat of individual awesomeness.
Your Bulldog fandom is showing.
A little bit. No, but it was one of the
But
highlights
that's why,
of the
and he
game.
got annoyed, didn't he?
Yeah.
Conor basically got annoyed he'd been chased down and tackled on the boundary.
So he thought he'd take a chunk out of him.
We've all wanted to do that.
Oh, Tory's a very attractive man.
Do it in an accounting meeting and people react badly, let me tell you.
Do you know what he tastes like? Tastes like 3 goals in a grand final.
Oh,
I
Talk about premiership hangovers.
Can I tell you this, Francis? Just in my show the other day, one of the first things I always ask the crowd is, I always just check if there's non-football fans, and then I'll adapt the material. I go, is anyone, who are the Bulldogs fans? Yeah. Any other footy fans? Anyone who hates football? Guy put his hand up, and I go, sweet man, thanks for coming. He goes, I just go for St Kilda.
My people.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. He obviously doesn't play with the mouthguard, or else he was really determined to bite him, took the mouthguard out, put it in his socks, and then had a chomp.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, it's quite an interesting thing because it didn't seem to be an incredibly hard bite. Like, it wasn't like a Mike Tyson bite.
It wasn't a love bite.
Well, this is where I think he got some leeway because it seemed that he sort of, it was very small. We'll get to whether we think the suspension was significant enough, but it seemed that it wasn't like there was a red mark, but it wasn't like he'd taken a chunk out or done anything.
He hadn't done
like
the Tyson.
Holyfield, Tyson.
It was a
one.
hickey.
That's what people described it as. So it was interesting. The tribunal hearing was interesting because he entered a guilty plea, and then so they quickly got to looking at basically the character references, and he got up and said he was very resentful of it all, and said he's very sorry for what he's done, and I think the guilty plea helped him. He then got a bunch of various character evidence, but one they tried to call, which is his former Vic Metro coach and senior member of the Victorian Police, Marty Allison, who McKenna lived with briefly when he first got out here from Ireland, so they know each other well. So the tribunal rings him, and it goes through for a character reference, and it's been set up, and goes through to message bank twice. How's that? It's like phone a friend and
Not
no one
there.
answers.
He cares so much.
Do you think he'd like McKinnon said, I'd like you to be my character reference, and he'd gone, oh, do I have to? And then he'd gone, all right, and then just gone on his phone answer.
Should have called his dentist.
It's pretty bad, isn't it?
It's not great.
And I've searched online, and if someone can tell me the answer to this, I've searched online to find out why he didn't answer. And there's no follow-up story, so I don't know what the 3,000 AFL journalists out there are doing. But I want to know why he didn't answer.
He might have been busy, I don't know, being a policeman, doing his job, keeping the community safe from other biters.
Well, I can't think of any crime that would be more important than an AFL tribunal hearing.
It was interesting. You sent me who was there at who was on the panel of tribunals. Like Stuart Lowe was on.
Yeah, because this is the full tribunal. This isn't just the.
Can you guys explain this to me? I thought Michael Christian was Judge Dredd. It was all he was the dictator. I am the law.
Instead of the previous match review panel, he now is singularly that
MRMC, match review Michael Christian.
That's right, and he can send it, but it can go to a tribunal straight away above him, basically. So because there was always the AFL likes to have checks and balances. They're like the High Court,
and after that, it's off to the House of Lords and the Privy Council because we are part of the Commonwealth.
That's right. Before we get to the
special appellate rights during the games.
Before we get to the federal court of the Swiss federal court, I should add.
The Hague.
The Hague. It's a pretty intense process, but. It was strange that they have all these people on it and they debate it for a while, and then they ended up handing down 3 weeks for it. Now, I think it was normally would be maybe 4 except he put in the guilty plea and everything. Even though he seemed lucky that he didn't bite him to the point of taking a huge chunk out or something, for biting, that to me sounds light. When you consider our cricketers just got a year or 9 months for Bancroft for rubbing a bit of sandpaper on the side of a ball. I know it destroyed it was taking a bite out of the soul of cricket, but it wasn't like a physical potentially.
All the health implications of being unwanted
things.
by someone you don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
and an Essendon player as well, so you don't know what he's carrying. Can peptides be passed on orally? Is that?
Well, the Collingwood players tried to convince us that from eating New Zealand beef, they got their drug one, so it's possible. But do you think it's fair, or do you think it's...
I think, as you said, the guilty plea probably helps him, and his remorse probably does. But the one thing he can't shake off, and it's a bit like the cricket, is that whatever he does the rest of his career, what's the one thing everyone's going to remember him for? Having a bit of lunch before three-quarter time, whenever it was, and just dining out on the all-you-can-eat Tory Dixon smorgasbord. That's what he's going to be remembered for.
Yeah, as a biter.
Yeah, as a biter, unfortunately.
Who was the player in about 97 squirrel gripped another player?
Well, there was the famous infamous incident in the VFL involving one Peter Philandia, who had also been done for biting. And this one was particularly special because it was Chad Davis who he was playing against, probably at Port Melbourne at the time, and he bit him on the scrotum. Ah, yeah, exactly. That one is hard to
Which you should
swallow.
Never,
so
you should
never. But it's true.
You should never do that without permission. I've always said that.
No, you need a safe word in that tackle. But that is what happened. So Conor McGregor can always think, I'm not that guy.
Conor McKenna.
And him too.
Both of them. Conor McKenna, though, the only thing I can think he could really do is, you say he'll be remembered as a biter. He needs to do something worse.
Or better.
Then people won't remember that.
He needs to do something worse than Conor McGregor. He needs to try and fight a tram.
Well, Michael Christensen got in trouble this week too for yelling, approaching an umpire at his daughter's match, I think.
Yeah,
and he thought they weren't. And
he said, "Watch out for the sling tackles."
Yeah, giving a bit of. And I hope the AFL have given him like an FBI type style badge that he could approach.
He's Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
he can approach all his jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's right. He can approach with and open it up and say.
And the Colombo coat.
I don't know. I don't think you want to wear one of those coats to Auskick. Draw a lot of unfortunate attention to yourself.
Wouldn't it be great if he did the Colombo thing and just going, are they allowed to tackle that way? I'm not sure. Well, just one more thing. I've got the rule book. I am the law.
I hope he does have one of those like FBI badges that he can sort of show as he approaches umpires. I am the law. Sam Powell-Pepper of Port Adelaide fame.
Yeah, you know me.
Yes, he won't play Essendon at Etihad Stadium this week. He's got
sensitive neck.
He's got a 1-game suspension. Now, he went out all night, stayed out well past 2 a.m. in the morning down at an Adelaide nightclub.
Can I just pick you up on that one? Because I did hear Brad Ebert.
Here we go. Your expertise of Adelaide nightclubs is going to come to the fore.
But Brad Ebert said at a press conference, and I felt sorry for him because he had to front the media in the sort of like the...
And he's in the leadership group.
Yeah, so it was a designated media day, had to do it. And the comment that he made that startled me was, we've got a rule that says you're not supposed to be out beyond 2 a.m, which I love, but it does say that Port Adelaide, they say nothing good happens after midnight, but in Port Adelaide, we're going to give it a good crack to find it if we can.
Yeah, that's right.
2 a.m.
In their defence, Adelaide does have 2 24-hour bakeries. So,
you could be getting out to...
You could get a sausage roll at 3 a.m.
Also, they're half an hour behind the rest of us, so it's really 1:30.
The pie floater out the front of the casino at 3 a.m. is a...
It's not longer there.
Is it multiple... What?
Yeah, you got to go to McConnell Street, North Adelaide.
Shows how long since I've been to Adelaide.
That was a famous one. But yeah, it was also interesting. They did say in the press release, it has broken team rules by staying out late, and also assaulted a woman, which we are reliably informed is apparently not good either.
Is that in the team
Staying out late was the first thing they mentioned.
Yeah, well, it's team rules come first.
Well, in their defence, they're saying they want to let the process run its course, particularly in the police investigation, before they comment on that.
Well, there's two things about that, because one,
Yes.
so
Who did he assault? Rebel Wilson? Are they wanting to not say the wrong thing in case they get sued?
well, there's two things that happen. One, the 1 week penalty is purely for being out late and breaching team rules. So they've dealt with that issue. They haven't dealt with the claims that a woman made that in the at the Hindley Street Club. Hindley, sorry. He apparently has been accused of assaulting a woman. She said basically put his hand up her dress.
No, they've got to, in all honesty, suspend him until, at least put him in, until that is resolved. You cannot be playing with that.
Well, I think they've taken the opportunity to ban him for a week anyway for breaking the thing, and then they can, if it's not resolved, they'll have to make a decision. I think, sort of bought themselves a week time by suspending him for the team rules bit. But do
they have team rules about assaulting women? Is that
Don't bloody well do it.
Yeah, but do they have
How about that?
Well, we have.
Do you need to be told
We
still?
have acts of parliament that prevent you from doing that.
Oh, yeah. Like,
You
is
don't
it in
need
the
to-
Port Adelaide Charter
I
not
don't
to
know.
violate the laws of
I
Parliament?
I don't know if you need to put every rule. No murder. Murder is not is against our team rules.
But if up until 2 a.m. it's okay.
Yeah.
But after that,
He murdered someone after 2 a.m.
And he didn't acknowledge terra nullius. It was just, he broke so many bits of the
Now,
Constitution.
they say that the AFL's investigating this woman's claims, and at the moment, the word coming out of Adelaide and in some of the media statements is the evidence isn't there, but I don't think we should really go off all of that because who knows. The one interesting thing is the SA police say that the woman hasn't actually made a complaint to them, so there's not actually an
and this is
investigation.
this is the very difficult area in all seriousness about these issues, because if that woman makes a complaint, she then becomes a story, and the pressure and the spotlight swings to her. So there's a price to be paid for any woman that wants to stand up to sexual assault. So the bigger question is for men, for us, for blokes, for football clubs, what are we going to say and do about it? And that's the thing that makes this story difficult. But the truth of the matter is, you can understand why women don't want to get involved in the
I can
criminal
understand
justice
that.
system.
I also wonder why, though, when often we get these situations where people go to because.
Media first?
Well, no, not necessarily. I wasn't thinking necessarily media. I was thinking more the clubs, because I can understand why women often don't want to report to police, because the police historically have shown they're not good at handling these things. So I get that. The clubs have shown themselves to be even worse, I would argue. So she apparently approached the club and the media first, and Caroline Wilson came out and was questioning that. Why wouldn't you go to the police? But I know in the past some people have approached the club first. Some women have because they haven't wanted to do what you're saying and
Because
cause
the
they've
price
just
that
said
pays enormous.
the price they
mate,
paid. So
can you
they've just
imagine if
wanted
her
to.
photo was in the Adelaide Advertiser and the dickhead army of, the Port fans, not all Port fans, but there is a dickhead element in all football clubs, and that dickhead element would target her in horrible ways.
Yeah, so I can understand. So it is a murky one, but at the same time, if there's no evidence or supporting evidence or anything like that, and no one's willing to make a formal complaint, the club's got to sort of find a way to deal with that. That puts them in a harder spot.
It really does. There is no easy answer to this without due process has to be protected, and the player in that sense has to have access to it. But the truth is, this is a pattern that's been repeating and repeating and repeating across football clubs, across codes for so long. There's obviously an issue, and the issue is not women. It's us. It's blokes. So
You say there isn't an easy answer. There is. Don't touch a woman who doesn't want you to touch her.
mongrel dickheads!
Just as long as you go.
Sorry, you're going to have to edit that bit out. That was me swearing.
Oh no, but that's the thing. It's harder if there's not clear evidence. So I think the AFL integrity team are looking at things like CCTV and all that sort of stuff. So, it almost becomes an easier thing if there is clear evidence like
But
that.
my point is that he should be asked to stand down from football until this is resolved, as a mark of respect for the seriousness of the accusation.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that he's guilty, but it does represent the Port Adelaide Football Club's attitude that this is a serious issue that needs to be dealt with. Do it quickly, do it proficiently, and then if there is nothing to be answered because the evidence isn't there, he resumes his playing, and they've done the right thing.
But my point, my point I've made on that for a long time, not just this one, is, which I agree, is that you said earlier, this happens a lot, and it happens a lot in society. So it's not like
does too much.
So, but the thing is that has always shocked me is the AFL does not have a standard process of how clubs or the AFL should manage these things. It seems to be that they make the decision on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
So sometimes they do stand them down or suspend them, and other times they don't. So this one, they've sort of bought themselves a fortnight, really, by banning him this week for his breaking curfew, team rules. They've sort of bought a week to let the investigation proceed without the danger of him playing
But
one.
Danny's point is a good one in that they didn't prioritise in their conversation about this or their media release about this. The importance of the accusation came secondary to the fact that he broke team rules, which,
Well, they're just trying to bury the story,
well,
clearly, but that's...
Well, they said some stronger things where they basically think it's not true.
well, I hope it isn't. I mean, nobody wants it to be true.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it to be true.
Yeah, so it's just interesting, but it just always surprised me with the AFL that there isn't a set thing where something like this triggers a certain set process.
Yeah.
It seems to always be they get caught on the run, and it's like, what are you going to do about it? Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's just never happened before.
Where if there was a process that said, and look, maybe it needs a official complaint lodged with either the integrity unit or the police or something to trigger the process, but it instantly was like you're instantly stood down and it's not a reflection of you. That's a pre-arranged process.
It's a circuit breaker.
It's a circuit breaker, but it's a pre-arranged process, so it doesn't mean you're guilty. It just happens instantly.
I guess the one thing that clubs would argue back, well, there will be mischievous complaints at some point.
But how often does that actually
that's what
happen?
I'm not
That's the thing. Yeah,
I
I know.
agree with that, but that will be their response.
Yeah.
That's why they will resist that.
But in some ways for clubs, it would actually be easier.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to. And there have been attempts, after the Dustin Martin stuff, there was some attempts to put in some of these processes. But this is sort of an early test of it. So he won't be playing, and we'll see what happens with that. Tom Lynch, who we've been talking about, will he, won't he stay at the Gold Coast?
This has been a pretty serious conversation. Can we bring it back to something funny? Oh, cool, Gold Coast Suns, yeah.
This is a far more serious matter. The AFL have said that they're not necessarily going to pay him a huge amount of money for an ambassador role if he decides to stay up on the Gold Coast.
Ambassador to Kiribati?
I love that ambassador role.
I know.
He'll sign all the all the treaties.
Going to be organising our trade arrangements with the Solomon Islands.
That's right.
Doesn't it just mean he gets to go front of the queue for Wet and Wild, or as Francis calls it, Splish and Splash?
Yeah, Splish and Splash. So here, what happens is he already gets around $1 million a year from the Gold Coast. Now, if he signs and from everything I've read, money's not an object. It's whether he wants to leave Gold Coast basically or not. So he'll get a great deal at Gold Coast if he chooses to stay. But the league has started to send some signals that they're not going to basically pay these big ambassador ships as well. They're still going to give him necessarily, it'd be about 50 grand if he stayed,
they're finally going to stop undermining their own salary cap.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
What's going on there?
First they stopped the environmental ambassadors.
And I said nothing.
And now they're coming for the meter-made ambassadors.
That's right. But it was quite interesting because they're now saying it would be about 50,000 he would get, which is reduced to some of the bigger ones that were around, especially when Israel Folau and Carmichael Hunt were playing. Weren't they wonderful ambassadors?
Wasn't Israel Folau just a great ambassador of GWS? Didn't he do Mardi Gras?
Well, you know what I love about it is for a long time Carmichael Hunt was seen as the worst one because, he almost got found guilty of setting up a drug ring, which was knocked down to just possession, I think. And so Israel was seen as the good one. And then since that, with his recent comments, people are going, the AFL really know how to pick them, don't they? It's just 2 from 2. But they got paid a lot more. So this is an idea of what money's out there, though, if you want to be Gary Ablett, an ambassador. Gary Ablett got about 50,000 last year when he was up there. Wasn't he great for the Gold Coast?
What was he ambassador for?
Just promoting it up there. And
you know how it's sold out every week? That's how good a job he did.
I can see that because there's a few others here. Brisbane's Dane Zorko gets about 25,000 as an AFL multicultural ambassador.
Really?
Yeah. And Eric Hipwood receives around 15,000 as an Auskick ambassador. So I can
understand. And that he went to Auskick when he was a baby.
Yeah, that's right. Guy. He was that good.
Caleb Daniel should be the Auskick ambassador because he's the same size.
So they have these people around the traps who are on these because their workload is higher than the average player. So I imagine he'd have to go to more Auskick. To get that money, he'd have to go to more Auskick things and be the face of it and all that. So I'm not necessarily against that. I'm not sure how keen I am when it's sort of tied to if you stay at the Gold Coast. But then this is the same independent AFL commission that, tried to engineer Buddy to GWS and then cracked it and cracked the SADs for about 2 years when he didn't go there legally, went to the Swans. So I can understand that, but it now seems that there's not going to be a big pot of money that's going to suddenly go, oh, well, this really makes it lucrative for you to stay up on the Gold Coast.
But the one thing it might is the fact that his team's actually improving. I mean, they've been pretty good on the road at the start of this year. Yeah. It might be worth hanging around up there now. I think that's just starting to show signs of life. Maybe that's enough.
I think he's going to stay he said he's going to sort of see how they're travelling around halfway through the year. So, and then sort of...
After they've played 9 games on the road. I think a fair indication of where they're at, is it? I think there might be a case that some of the other AFL clubs are finally saying, hey, enough's enough on the largesse towards the the AFL franchises, their pop-up clubs, as I call them.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a test of whether they're able to sell it simply on its merits for a change, which they haven't had to do in the past.
Well, it is interesting because, like, the Suns had, sold their game last week to Fremantle. So, they've lost that. They're not
They got
playing
there again this week against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, did they stay? You just stay in Perth,
They did.
surely? Oh, good.
They just
What-
set
what
up
they-
camp in Perth.
They go to the beach, I suppose. That's not exciting for them.
They've got their own one.
That's right. It's not that big a thing. So that's sort of what they're winding back on all that. So it'll be interesting to see where Lynch goes and who has the money to get him. I hear North Melbourne have a big war chest.
They could fit him in it. It's so big. And kidnap him next time they're up there. Just chuck him in the war chest and put it back on the
It's a
plane.
3-bedroom war chest, just filled with money like Scrooge McDuck. They
I
just
like
swim
Collingwood
through it.
keep talking about getting him. That's the one. They're one of the key ones.
Has he
but-
got enough soft tissue damage to go to Collingwood?
That's right. Well, speaking of that, Collingwood have had a few more injuries.
Yeah.
So it seemed like they got through last week okay, but then Jamie Elliott and Taylor Adams are looking like being ruled out against Adelaide having hamstring strains at training. What point does it go from bad luck to just there's something they're doing there? Like whether they
when it's as regular as this, it's obviously a major problem. And Jamie Elliott, he's their best player at the moment, I reckon, outside of Pendlebury, and they must be tearing their hair out trying to get him back.
well,
on the park.
he barely ever plays.
Exactly.
I mean,
They
but it's not
desperately
just a
need-
new thing.
No.
Even Daniel Wells is injured.
Again.
He's coming back through the VFL this week, so it'll be interesting. But
What, in a hyperbaric chamber? To keep
just he's going to play
the boy in the bubble. He'll be
first
just
play at a play.
Ryan Lung.
You know those bubbles, like those bubbles,
yeah, like the
those
Coke
balls
bubble.
you
He'll
can
be out
get
there
in.
trying to play footy in the Coke
Well,
bubble.
it doesn't make a lot of sense to me
Can't do
because they I don't know whether it's their recruiting or their load management or what it is. I
Are
know
they
that
training on gravel? Is that a problem?
Well, they've turned over their medical staff a few times in the last few years.
They've
because
basically
of
had a
this.
turnstile with their staff in recent times, haven't they?
Well, I know that Eddie went out and really tried to get the best of the best because they kept having these injuries, but nothing seems to stop it. I mean, is it morale? They're all calling in sick. What's
Is
the
it a
actual?
conspiracy amongst the medical fraternity that they hate Collingwood? And
yeah,
Oh.
we're getting somewhere. So you reckon the AMA suddenly get...
Oh.
Yeah, I like this.
You know, the demographics of the AMA, they're all Melbourne fans, and they're just basically making sure that Collingwood remains ill.
Oh,
So
I wish we were that organised. Us Melbourne fans. That is a good idea.
Because I'm wondering when this whole Collingwood, everyone hates us, but we don't care. That's going to backfire at some point. Well, it probably is now. With they say the AFL hates us, and then they're also proud that everyone hates them. So
Well, they're off to Adelaide this week, so not having those ins, having those out, and it's going to be tough. I mean, they beat Carlton, but that was-
I've got nothing to offer there because they kicked 10 unanswered goals in 2 quarters. We've kicked 12 goals in 2 games, so I know which I'd rather be at the moment.
yeah. Well, we'll try and go easy on you today, Francis.
yeah. Okay, how are you going, Francis? Because one of the earlier episodes of this
As a St
podcast.
Kilda supporter,
As a St Kilda and Arsenal fan,
the minute I say let's go easy on him, off you go.
Well, no, I want to know. I'm generally asking my friend how you doing. Should we call Lifeline? Are you okay,
You
mate?
got the lifeline moment in I think the second quarter of the first JLT community game. I got that out of the way. I think I've accepted my lot that we're a blue collar workforce. We haven't got many highly skilled people.
So maybe getting some asylum seekers to play could
We
be
need some.
the answer.
What's the visa we need? The
501.
that's it. Yeah, we need a few of those.
Well, no,
We're going to struggle
You're playing Geelong
down
at
in
Cardinia?
G-Town.
That'll be
Yes.
easy. You'll be fine.
Is that Ablett's first game at Cardinia?
No, he's done his hemi, so he won't be there.
Oh,
so
okay.
thankfully we'll avoid the messianic return of the bald one because that would have been a bit too painful on top of being walloped by them. The last time he won down there was 1999, and that was a famous win because that was the week before the 10-goal turnaround against Hawthorn. So we kicked 2 late goals in that game. Thought everything's flying. Tim Watson, what a genius coach. We go out to Waverley. How good's this? We're 63 points up against Hawthorn. Spider gives away 2 50-metre penalties, and that was the end of that story. It was all downhill from there.
Oh,
Does that still
They were great
sound like it was
times.
a little bit...
You look back on them fondly those times now.
yeah. That was like a Celtic bard telling us famous stories. Normally
Yeah.
they tell stories about victory, but this is the St Kilda bard. Oh, I'll tell you my favourite losses.
We'll be here for weeks.
Talking with Geelong have said this new committee they've set up, which is sort of this stakeholder consultation
Sort of
committee,
thing.
which is
I
like.
did not understand a word of this on the run sheet.
You know what it is?
So, well, Steve, what is it? What do you think it is?
It's the Masonic Lodge. It's got its own handshake. Secret handshake. They wear little aprons. They do the little dance and they make up AFL stuff.
Well,
It's a
Stephen
cult.
Hawking set this up. It's
There you
sort
go.
of this new committee.
Case closed.
And is it just called the committee?
No, it was originally he called it a super committee. And
Capes,
everyone laughed.
capes and
Yeah,
undies
everyone-
over the front of your pants.
It's
at
like
all
reminds me of
times.
that Simpson episode where they talk about the super friends. It's that sort of like.
But it's like IPL teams. You have the Kings and the Super Kings.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So
I
they,
go for the Super Giants now, by the way.
so now
team.
I think it's called the competition committee, and it's
The competition committee. That
Yeah.
sounds like a shit podcast.
well, it's basically just an attempt to have.
Or a bad boy band.
I think that he put some of his mates on, and then that he likes hanging out with. Basically, what it really is the ability for the AFL to say, we ran it past this stakeholder group, and they approved it, so therefore we can go ahead and do it.
Who's on this?
Oh, Eddie
Super
Maguire, Colin Carr.
Because those guys never get heard.
They- well,
they're
the
the
whole-
voices that football really needs to hear from.
The whole list of people. There's two players. Rest Peggy O'Neill's on it. A bunch of presidents and
Mark
a few,
Latham, he probably sounds up his alley.
and a few players and a few club CEOs. It's not very diverse. It tends to skew, from my look at it. There's Andrew Ireland's on it from Swans, but it tends to skew pretty like Victorian Central.
Oh, right.
Geelong,
I
for
thought you were gonna
example,
say-
of the 12 people on it, Geelong have 2 people on it. They got Patrick Dangerfield in his role as AFLPA president, and they got Colin Carter on it. They've come out and said that they won't allow self-interest to become involved in their decision making on the committee. That's what they've put it on record.
Are these the same people-
I was like, we didn't even accuse you of that yet.
It's like CUB saying we will not let alcohol be part of our company.
Are these the same people that tried to tell us that there was no light at Princess Park because there were too many bodies on the ground?
Yeah, that's right.
This is what they're trying to sell us.
Well, the interesting thing is Steve Hawking is a former Cats player and administrator, and then there's 2 on there. And you kind of look at, and there's 7 clubs that didn't get anyone on it.
Can we guess who they are?
Well, I know Melbourne didn't just because I
There we
checked
go.
for Melbourne. I don't know who else they are.
Would one be North
I'm
Melbourne?
not sure if saying all the clubs the AFL hate. If you're not on there, it's
We're still trying to organise a raffle committee for match day, let alone
right.
on the super committee.
yeah, we can't commit to this. So it's sort of a weird one. I don't really get it at all. Steve Hawking's scaring me like no one else has in the AFL ever.
Do you think he's like
before.
the Dick Cheney of the AFL now? Quiet, but
everything.
dangerous?
No, but everything he comes up with is just he sent the memo for the AFL women's. Remember that?
Oh, they're saying you got to put more women in offence.
he did telling them how to play. He's done this. He keeps talking about all sorts of crazy new ideas that he wants to look at.
So he's more the Trump of.
Well, you're just like, it's like, calm down, mate. Like, the game's fine. It's actually travelling really well overall. There's a few little things that, like, you could calm down a bit on India and China and maybe focus a bit more on Tasmania and locking down Gold Coast and Western Sydney to work. But apart from that, it's actually going, the game's is going well, ratings are going well, money's going well. Like, why do we need all this
You've got to be
nonsense?
seen to be doing something when you're jagging $400,000 a year, don't you? Or whatever it might
Yeah.
Crazy. But anyway, I'm sure Geelong won't use their own self-interest on this. No one uses self-interest,
No.
do they, in
be.
football?
In fact, Eddie Maguire will be the arbiter, the guardian of the game and its high purpose
That's
because
what
he
everyone-
never represents self-interest, ever.
It's going to be amazing when Tom Lynch plays for both Geelong and Collingwood next year.
Twice a week.
If they're going to introduce dual passports.
He's like one of those
Play
really
for
good.
both.
He's like one of those really good players that had to play for their school and the TAC Cup team
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Or
Because
the-
like Knight would let him off.
The good under 15s who gets called up to the seniors.
Round 4, we mentioned Adelaide Collingwood. That's on Friday night. So just once again, Collingwood and Carlton just dominating on Friday night coverage, despite the fact that not even Collingwood Carlton fans want to see them. It's just amazing. I can't see Collingwood with the outs they've got. The Collingwood just always try, so you never know, but I can't see them really matching it with Adelaide.
And Adelaide have been very good for all but one quarter this year.
Yeah.
There was just that one quarter where they were terrible and Essendon destroyed them.
Yeah.
But Adelaide will win. Oh, and by the way, last week I got 8 out of 9 tips from talking them through with you and not having thought of them. The only one I got wrong is for some reason I thought the Hawks would knock off the
Did
Tigers.
you do the opposite of what I tipped? Is that what you mean by talking it through with me? Once I heard yours, I just went the other way completely.
So, but I'm just
Who did you lose out to?
I tipped the Hawks over the Tigers for some reason.
That wasn't a complete. You got close on that
I got
one.
close, and I got all the others right. So let's see if talking through it, having not thought about it before on this podcast, will help me not tip so badly.
Well, then GWS play Freo. This is in Canberra.
The Giants will win.
Is it Canberra? Sorry,
it is.
It is Canberra.
Yeah. What do you reckon? Freo won 2 at home.
He's done a good job, Ross, with this team.
No, they won one on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They won one on the Gold Coast.
On the West Gold Coast. He's done a good job getting this team back up and running. The Giants' ruck situation is not great, so they'll fancy themselves. I think the Giants will get it.
Is it feasible we get through the next 5 years? And the Victorian me shame by saying get through.
Yeah.
With GWS not actually ever winning a premiership.
I think that's a distinct possibility.
Because it's so just been seen as an inevitable occurrence. And each year it's a bit like they'll get there next year. They're getting because they have played in a couple of prelims now, and they're getting their players are now at an age, but they just seem to have issues with like the ruck at the moment. Tom Scully goes down,
they will. I think you're right. That the further we go out from their foundation date, incrementally harder it is for them to draw on that enormous pool of talent to guarantee themselves a shot at a flag. So it gets harder for them, but there's still enough talent in that team if they can.
There is a lot, isn't it? But do you think if they don't win a premiership, it will be the greatest waste of talent since your mob couldn't pull off the premiership?
It's an even bigger. Well, they've had more talent than us, and thank you for that.
Oh, that was it to the jugular.
At least we could see it from where we were. But they, I mean,
hey, just remember his premiership drought is 2 years longer than yours.
Yes, indeed.
That's right. We're cruising compared to you.
They'll get there before us the way things are going.
But I hear those next 2 years are the worst. Richmond, Brisbane at the MCG on Saturday at 2:10. Wow, scheduling a 2:10 game at the MCG in the afternoon. What's happening?
This must be the grand final.
Now, Brisbane have been
I watched that game last week.
far more impressive than we thought they'd be.
Yeah, they were really good for long periods. They could have got blown away in the third quarter. They fought their way back. They almost pinched it. Hipwood, you talked about before, he's a star in the making, not
Needs
getting
a bit
involved
of consistency,
enough.
yeah.
But Zorko has been wonderful. Hodge is obviously directing the traffic. Stephen Martin, how did you guys let that guy go? I guess you got...
Well, Mark Neal did it, so that explains why. But also...
He's a good ruckman.
He can be good. I've always liked him, and I was annoyed when they let him go, and I think he is very good, although I would say without Paddy Ryder, he got a pretty free
Yeah, that's fair. Just in general, though, he's been...
But he's a solid player.
They'll give him a game, but the Tigers will be too.
Neil could spot talent a mile away and then
slip.
drive him away.
Surely Tigers.
Brisbane almost beat Melbourne too, so they really are better than they look. Whether they can keep it up consistently over the year. Richmond last week, I thought, even though it was close against Hawthorn, I thought that was the most closer to the form they had towards the end of last year I've seen. They had the speed and the pressure was up a bit. And Hawthorn did well handling it, actually. But
they look tired, Hawks, the 5-day break affected them.
So Richmond haven't quite hit their straps yet, I don't think. They're not like where they were last year, but they are.
But nor do they need to be at this stage.
No, I think they're travelling along perfectly well. I'm tipping Richmond in that one, although Brisbane are better than people think, I think. I don't know. Are they one of those clubs that's going to go well for like first 5 rounds and then crash?
It could be that. It's such a long year for young teams, and confidence is everything. If they can pick up a win or two along the way, which they haven't been able to do yet, then it might turn into something significant for the year. But yeah, it's a tough road for young bodies, isn't it? We would know because we are owners of very old and tired bodies. We're finished before we start.
We're exhausted watching them.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Right. The Bulldogs, Danny's former team. And Sydney take on Sydney at Etihad Stadium.
Danny's obviously been busy being the spelling coach at Collingwood.
Yes, what did you think of that?
Yeah, oh man, my mobile phone has exploded. I've got this is the top 3.
Did it on the night? It exploded.
Yeah, oh man, top 3 times I've got text messages. Number 1, Dogs win the grand final. I had like 57 texts. When my son was born, I got about 30 texts. Collingwood misspelling their banner.
Yeah.
It was genuinely, like when my son was born, it was about another 30 texts. It was just
What
off
about
the
when
charts.
I was trying to ring you from court for a character reference
That's why I didn't
and
pick
it
up.
kept going through the message bank?
Yeah,
There was a lot of text that day. So you got a lot, and it was great because if it was any
Triple M
other.
got me on, and I had to write an article for the Herald Sun about it. I am.
I got a full article out of it.
Yeah,
Any spelling mistakes in it?
Yeah, I got the editor. You could triple check that, please.
When you were in primary school and told people you were going to be the preeminent expert on AFL banners, no one believed you, but
And
you got
here
there.
I am. Take that, Mr. Spooner. You never believed in me.
I tell you what, the Bulldogs banners have been absolute crackers since you left.
Yeah, it's understandable. I seriously can't comment on anything.
They've been woeful. They need to get you back as fast as possible. They seem to at least have got back to playing football last week.
Well, what helped is Essendon kept passing it to us. So
Essendon was shocking.
it was terrible. It was.
But the
beyond.
Bulldogs did show at least a bit of interest in playing, which is
Yeah.
nice to see.
Toby McLean was just spectacular last week, and it was If we play that well, I reckon we could almost not lose to Sydney.
Do you think they'll? The
man,
fact
I
it's
watched
at
the
Etihad Stadium, the Swans were good last week. They had a pretty bruising encounter though against GWS.
Yeah,
They're just ridiculously.
Do you see,
consistent.
buddy? He's
Yeah.
just unstoppable. It was amazing. And, the best weapon we have against him is Joel Hamling, and he sadly left at the end of 2016. So, I'm going
Would
I'm
you
gonna
get
go to-
Will Minson back then?
Oh, hell yeah. I would. So
That's one of my favourite questions when
Do you remember that? When,
Luke Beveridge got asked it and he retired last year, mate.
wouldn't have thought so, considering he's
But,
retired.
thanks
He's
for the
busy
left
playing.
field.
He's busy playing in a trad jazz combo down at the Williamstown Hotel on the licorice stick. Isn't that his thing? He's a clarinetist.
He's a clarinet, French horn. He can speak 12 languages. I was speaking to Pat Lipinski, number 27 for the Bulldogs. He inherited his locker, and there was a note for him written in Latin. So no, it wasn't. It was in English. But he gave him there was a $50 note saying, you've inherited the jumper. Congratulations. First few coffees are on me.
Oh,
What a good bloke Will
Is
Minson is.
he better at the clarinet than he was at footy? Or?
How dare you? He was awesome.
No, I didn't say it's bad. I just said, is he better at the clarinet? What one's he better at?
We used to always wonder why he wasn't getting a game under Beveridge, and we used to always just do the Simpsons quote of, Luke Beveridge, he's kind of had it in for me since kind of ran over his cat. Replace the word cat with, replace the word kind of with repeatedly and the word cat with son.
Just not a fan. And Luke's just not a fan of traditional jazz. I guess he just doesn't like.
He likes scat.
Yeah,
He likes bebop.
he's a bebop guy.
He's always
not a
been like
scatting
that.
guy.
I'm tipping the Bulldogs, but I think the Swans will win.
Yeah,
Francis,
Swans for me.
Swans?
I saw Buddy in action again. I mean, he only touched the ball 3 times and won him the game. So,
I think the Swans probably get there. The only thing that's making me nervous is it being at Etihad. North Melbourne take on Carlton. Gee, this is down in
This is a match that
Tasmania too. So I'm sorry, Tasmania. This is just more proof that the AFL hate Tasmanians.
Both have been okay. They gave your mob a run last week.
Yeah, but I mean, against Carlton, and they played that game against St Kilda, which I still see it on my brain.
I know.
And to be honest, Melbourne end up beating by 30 odd, and Melbourne played terribly. So if North aren't good.
They're not great, but they're
rebuilding. They're allowed to be terrible.
They've been
Do you like the confidence I say that as someone who's got beaten by them
Yeah,
for 12 years in a row?
and now
and
they're
I'm
just
throwing
the
shade
disdain.
at them. But even North, I was talking actually the other night after the show, I got talking to a couple of North supporters afterwards, and it was the night of that game, and they were like, "We're not as bad as everyone thinks," but they know where they're at. They know it's pretty, and I was speaking to one of them, this woman who has followed North all her life and was going down for the game. She said, "I just hope it's really windy." And she is mildly confident against Carlton.
Who are disappointing again. I don't know, Brendan Bolton, Alan Richardson and Brendan Bolton are the 2 coaches who are most likely to come under some serious heat. Because the Blues have won, is it 4 years in a row they've lost their first 3?
5 out of the last 6
5 out of the
years.
last 6.
What a
So they
stat.
just cannot get started, can they?
But I've said this before, but only because it just blows my mind. They're rebuilding, they've been, you remember the Cruiser Cup, right? So they've been as bad as Melbourne for as long as Melbourne have. And Melbourne now look like they've done the rebuilding better, which is amazing. It is just, but it is because it's been, Melbourne's rebuild has gone, this rebuild, which is the rebuild of the rebuild of the rebuild, seems to be going okay at least. But Carlton don't even seem to be getting, there doesn't seem to be, if you're a Carlton fan, where is the improvement on any level? They look at Cripps and they look at Curnow, but if Cripps left, which I know is not imminent and might not happen, but if he did decide to go back to WA, where would Carlton be?
Well, Jacob Weitering's sort of plateaued a little bit. He'll get better. He's only in his third year of senior footy, but you're right. I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? The same as St Kilda. Like, it's the opportunity in the draft doesn't guarantee success. I heard Paul Roos talking about this on Fox Footy this week, that you can find a way to get good talent in other ways. And the Demons have had plenty of access to good talent, but they've also had plenty of IP and help from the AFL.
Yeah, well, a lot. I'm not saying that, Melbourne done it on their own. And
they got it wrong before that too.
But that's what I'm saying. Melbourne's has been so bad until recently, really until Jackson and Peter Jackson
Roos
got
well.
there and got Roos, but only under him and Bartlett has it started to improve off the field and on the field to just...
Well, we gave you Christian Petrarca, so there's been a bit of charity along the way. We went past.
There's been luck, hasn't there? So,
yeah, because you had idiots before you choosing up the wrong player.
Well, I used to say with Melbourne, people used to complain about Melbourne getting priority picks, and I'd always say, you want Melbourne to pick before you.
Yeah.
Because it's like a vacuum cleaner that goes ahead and gets the rubbish.
If Melbourne were
leaves...
at Sizzler, they would just go straight to the Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, that's right. Remember when, because that's how Dustin Martin and Nat Fife, Richmond fans are like, we should have had them. And anyway, hindsight to me. But Carlton's I can't see
an obsession
where
with
it's going.
the GWS cast-offs that hasn't quite worked out either. Marchbank's playing and they've tried to get the best out of him. A guy like Christian Jacks, who they spent a lot of time trying to get going, is now playing suburban footy out in the Eastern Football League in Melbourne. Like, he's out the system.
But don't you think... they brought Stephen Silvani back because they thought he'd done a great job at GWS.
Well, how could you not?
Which is my point exactly, right? Like,
it's like saying to an oil sheik in the Middle East,
it's like
you got rich, how did you do that? Oh, I happened to be sitting on top of it,
That's right.
It's you drove that Porsche really well. Do you ride my fixie?
It's just, it's like you are playing, Madden on the PlayStation, and you've turned off all the rules that let you draft whoever you want. Basically, like it's just completely a free for all.
You turn the offsides off.
Yeah, and then they
FIFA.
go, oh, hang on, let's get him down at Carlton then because he's done such a great job. And that was a favourite son thing. It wasn't a hard, cold, rational decision to get who's actually the best recruiter out there we can get. They decided he was because they also sauce.
So they pivoted away from the Malthouse era where they thought that they could launch for a flag after they made a couple of final series under Brett Ratton. Then they went to Silvani and basically mined the outer west of Sydney to try and find the best players who weren't getting a game.
Yeah.
And where do they go now?
Well, that's what I I've spoken to some Carlton fans, they just can't see where the turnaround's coming from. And I remember that at Melbourne, just looking at it going, where is any of this? And I don't know what to say to them because it's just looking terrible. And they know. You can't lie to your fans. It's like Eddie constantly saying that Collingwood are on the right track. The people who are not buying that the most are Collingwood fans because they sit and watch them every week. You talk to them and they're just like...
How do you know we're not on the right track? Because my eyes work.
Yeah, that's right. I've sat through all this.
Fun fact about North Melbourne and Carlton, these two teams, apart from GWS and Gold Coast, now have the longest grand final drought. Every other club, apart from GWS and Gold Coast, have played in a grand final this century, not North Melbourne and Carlton.
Right. That is good. So not premiership, just not playing in a grand final.
Yeah, Richmond was the last one.
Captain Stato over there.
Yeah, look at that.
Good. West Coast nerd box over there.
The Battle of the Coasts, West Coast versus Gold Coast, is on Saturday night, 8:10 p.m. Gold Coast went great last week, and West Coast were lucky against Geelong, I thought, with all the injuries Geelong got.
I've been impressed by the Gold Coast, surprised by the Gold Coast the first 3 weeks. I think Stuart Dew's doing something really... Something's happening there. The talent's starting to percolate through, and they'll be mid-table.
Well, they're tackling.
Yeah, there's a start. There's a lot of upside.
And I think they're one of the... It's a rare occasion where not having Gary Ablett is a plus.
because they actually have to go to work themselves a little bit.
Well, I think part of that, and I don't think he was helpful for what they were trying to do. He was obviously injured a lot. And, his last week showed that at Geelong he's injury prone. So they've got a bit more consistency now at least. Players going to have the opportunities there if you want to take it.
It's a weird thing, isn't it, to spend a whole week in the same city away and then play the game again. So who knows how that works. Maybe they'll feel really at home now. They've had a look at the new stadium and maybe they'll be really competitive.
Yeah. Jet lag won't be a factor.
Yeah.
West Coast, I'm tipping in that one though.
Yeah, me too.
I don't mind West Coast. I haven't made my mind up yet on how good they are, but they've done enough so far to be.
Well, they've had no Josh Kennedy in that team as well.
That's right.
Nick Nat's only 3 games back.
Nick Nat's only been playing just over 50% of game time, but he's been, impactful. So,
How many goals did Liam Ryan get last week?
Well, he's out now
He's got
for
an ankle injury.
12 weeks or something.
He got 3 goals last week.
He's out for about 12 weeks. Yeah, he's very good.
Can he get Rising Star?
I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know how long
his
he's
age
been
profile
playing.
might deny him. He's been in the waffle for a few years.
Okay.
I have to check. Hey, come on, Stato. This is
Yeah,
Stato.
you're the stats man, Danny.
I only did it once. I'm the Steve Silvani of recruiting here. I had one good
Is that a leading
stat.
question so you could reveal to us the truth?
After that, Sunday, we've got Essendon Port Adelaide. This is at Etihad Stadium. Essendon have not had a
They could
great...
not play worse than last week.
They've not had a great start to the year. Do you
They're
think
under
they're
the
under
pump this week.
Well, I read all the articles this week which just eviscerated them and basically wrote them off till the end of time. I'm not sure if they're quite there yet.
No, they almost came back. If Joe Danaher hadn't hand-passed that baffling goal...
Yeah, they played about as
Goal
badly
square.
as you can, and I don't know if they're going
If
to...
they win this weekend, they're 2-2 and the season's on track. I mean, there's sort of overreaction.
It was amazing, the overreaction. I mean, I love a good overreaction, don't get me wrong. I'm not getting on my
That's
high
what the whole
horse.
point of this podcast.
That's right, but I did think it was... Even I went, wow, I think we're a bit far ahead, but I can understand after seeing that game why you might think that, because it looked like none of them had played football ever before.
Yeah, well, they did have Jake Stringer in the team. That kind of throws the wild card.
Yeah, I was getting texts from mates saying, I can't believe the Bulldogs fans are booing Jake Stringer. I had to respond going, no, those are the Bombers fans.
It was hard to tell which was which, wasn't it?
It was something we could all agree on the day.
Oh, Jake. He's smart enough to figure it all out.
In case the tumbleweeds.
Hawthorn take on Melbourne. This is actually a
be a
really
great
good game. Now it's at 3:20, that sort of late afternoon at the MCG. Hawthorn were not bad last week against Richmond. Melbourne, if they play like they did against North, will really struggle here. But if they actually
How have you
click a
gone
bit.
recently against the Hawks? You've knocked them off a
not
couple
bad,
of times.
not bad. We go okay against the Hawks, although they've Tom Mitchell's improved a lot, and Jaeger wasn't playing the last few times we played them, so they've got a bit of a lift. We've still got Viney out and Tom McDonald out.
Okay.
So this one I'm not really sure. This could easily go either way.
Yeah, it
I've
does
been
have a
impressed by a lot of what Hawthorn have done.
Demons are
this year.
favourites, according to...
So
according to
now
my
I'm
app.
tipping Hawthorn then.
Now, Demons, if they play near their best, they'll win. But Hawthorn, I mean, how do they keep doing it? They keep managing to stay relevant.
but it's that
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
so
we were
annoying.
talking.
Why
it's-
can't they do what we do and just like become an appalling mess for a little while? Just to change it up.
But
Yeah.
it reminds me, like Bellamy in the NRL, no matter who you're... I mean, he's got some stars he's built around, absolutely. He's had, but he also just... The rest of the team is drilled in their specific roles so well, and the standards are just set that they are not allowed to dip behind that. Even if they've got some average players in spots, he knows just the minimum he can get out of them, and he insists they give him that. And Clarko reminds me of that. You're always going to have a pretty decent side with Clarko there. That he's just not going to let them just kind of lose their way or...
It's like why we know when Clarko retires, we know that there's about to be a real dip in form. It'll be like Clarko walking away from the explosion, and we will all rub our hands with glee going, oh, he knows something's bad. Something's rotten.
Well, but like this is amazing. Like the really top coaches, and they're often like once in a generation. They don't come along very regularly. But you had this at Man United, didn't you?
Sir Alex.
When he walked out, they've never got back to where they were.
No, it's pretty tough. And I think there's a few other things in that. Like when a club is completely built around the power of one individual, that is, Sir Alex Ferguson definitely at Arsenal, it's Wenger. That's going to be a massive issue for them.
Sheedy at Essendon.
Sheedy at Essendon is a great example. But do you think Clarkson's the same at Hawthorn, or are they a bit
Well,
more
I
balanced?
think so. But I just think that, that he... sets standards and is a very such an astute tactician and motivator of people that I think he just has repeatedly shown that he'll always at least get a side out that's pretty competitive and pretty decent.
He can find a way.
Yeah, but it's that bit about footy isn't just giving, it's because it's such a team sport, you need to have all the players playing their roles and doing well. And you can't just do what Carlton and others have done, which is go, we've got four great draft picks, or we've recruited Chris Judd, but if the bottom 10 are no good, just irrelevant, it just doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't, and that's where I think he's a cut above anyone else at the moment.
It would all depend who follows Clarkson as well. It could,
Jeff.
if it's
just finally going to reach his destiny.
Well, this is why I was like almost thrilled Jeff is back, because I was almost hoping that he and Clark. I'm just every day hoping they have a falling out.
It's like he's one step away from the presidency. He's like the.
Yeah, he's Kevin Spacey in House of Cards.
That's it, Coach Kennett. just scats beautifully.
Geelong versus St Kilda
Saints.
at GMHBA Stadium. Is that the worst named stadium you've almost ever heard?
Man, someone slipped some GMHBA into my drink the other night.
Is that legal?
It was you.
And it was.
Had a great night.
Ended up in Adelaide at past 2 a.m.
Now, Francis, St Kilda, any chance against Geelong down there?
Oh, look, I don't think they're as bad as
history and reality would say no.
I know, but the Cats aren't going great guns either.
Yeah,
and
the Cats are bad.
They've got a few injuries. Ablett's out. They should win, but they're a bit ropey at the back too. So, look, this has got to be one of those games where the Saints have got to go down and go, we've got to give this everything and see if we can win here, then that changes the perception completely.
How long do you reckon Gary Ablett's really going to be out?
They're building him a bionic leg as we speak.
It does. He can't lay hands and heal himself.
They could do it. He's dead.
It does seem though that this one, it does seem this might be a longer one. But I guess also, why would you rush him back? But is he beyond? I mean, I thought this last couple of years, his body seems to be saying, "I'm done."
Or at least playing that midfield role. I think he could still play forward and still be a damaging player. Look, we said that about him after round 2 last year against the Giants for the Gold Coast Suns. Remember, he copped it from all, and then he went on while he was injury concerns.
200 touches in a quarter.
But then he got injured again.
He did. So the injuries are.
My point isn't like Gary Ablett healthy is one of the all-time greats, and is amazingly hasn't really dropped much in when he's fit, but he just can't stay fit.
No. Which is, their problem, because they moved heaven and... Well, they didn't move heaven and earth to get him, but they were keen to get him back, and all the focus is around his return. So all those Cats fans who are hoping to see him at Cardinia Park this weekend, us in Kilda people, are going to be down and think, thank God isn't here, because... God Junior, because that's the last thing we needed on top of our problems, was to have a homecoming for the anointed one, in the middle of our misery.
Have you guys got any chance, you think, of pulling anything out of this season?
Remember, the Cats have only won a game because Max Gawn
No, but
missed.
I know. But do you mean just generally?
I honestly
I don't remember that.
I don't.
Thanks, Danny.
I've got to believe that they can be competitive in this game, because I haven't seen...
But no, do you think Saints can turn it around this season at all and get like some level of respectability?
Yeah,
or do you think the club's in real trouble?
No, I don't think the club's in real trouble. I think that the squad is modest, but they're hardworking, and I think they'll be where they were last year. I think they end up with 10 wins, and that's a disappointing result, but I think it's the reality of where the squad's at. It's not a top 8 team.
Yeah.
But it will have days, and if it has one this weekend, it'll be great, where it plays to its fullest capacity and knocks over good teams, but they just won't do it often enough.
Yeah. Well, Danny, you're on tonight.
Yeah. I'm on every night for the rest of the festival. Yep.
Look at you. This is the hardest working man in show business.
I am. I'm doing at least
Francis,
2
have you got
gigs.
any appearances coming up?
No, but... No, I'll have to come up with something, won't I?
Yeah, you got to plug something.
Got to plug something.
Maybe some product you could put your name on.
I'll have to come up with my own...
like a waffle maker.
I was going to say some cookie grill or something. Some hair curling iron, that would be ironic.
A water park, Splish and Splash.
Splish and Splash.
And I'm on... so I've got 10 left. A couple of them are already sold out. So if you do want to come and see me before I finish up in Melbourne, you better get in quickly. I'll put the link in the show notes, and same for Danny's tickets. And then both of us are up at the Sydney Comedy Festival.
Wow.
So love to see people
May 5th and
in
6th
Sydney
for
come
me.
out and say hi. So that's the other one. That's later this So I think I'm staying the Thursday after Anzac Day and doing 4 nights.
Okay, yeah, I'm on the week after that.
And the
May
week
5th and
after
6th.
that. Well, there you go.
So you can do the double.
see me 4 times and then see Danny. How many times are you on?
Twice.
Twice. There you go.
Sunday.
There's 6 nights of your life sorted.
Filling that empty space that is your life.
Yeah, that would be genuinely good because tickets. Surprisingly, not a lot of Bulldogs fans in
really?
in Sydney. Yeah, and weird that the Swans fans don't want to just come out and talk footy with me. But after you beat us on Saturday, come and rub it in by buying a ticket. That'll
That's
show
right.
me.
Come and sledge him. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.